Hello, boys and girls. This is Old Man Yells at Cloud for Blue Powder Monkey's Patreon. I have a little bit of a cold today. So as you can see, I'm going to cough every once in a while. I'll try to get to the microphone before I do it. All right, let me make sure everything's going good or going well. Superman does good. Let's get that over there. Let's get up this up here. All right, we're working on kind of a hobby project. It's a map for a Terraforming Mars board game that I'm going to give away on my Patreon. I'm doing it in kind of a monochromatic green, sort of retro 70s sort of look. Obviously more stylized than that with the gradients and the whatnot. It is not a map that probably is super accessible for people that haven't played the game. For people that have played the game, they should be able to kind of figure out what's going on relatively quickly. All right, I'm going to start my music. Excuse me. Whoa. All right. I'm listening to Yes, Close to the Edge. Old school Yes. Right in the middle of their prog life. All right, let me check this, make sure that's nothing important. Okay, cool. All right. So, where's my map? There it is. I needed to find the traditional map from the board game in order to copy it, obviously, since I don't have it memorized. So I'm going to drag that over here. And you're like, why didn't you do all this before you started recording? And it's because, well, that's the way I roll. Also, I haven't done this in a while. I was working on that Norwestcon program for a while, and I was starting to get pretty efficient at the whole streaming thing as far as having my shit together. But I haven't done it in a while, and, you know, this is what you get. So maybe the next time I do this, which will be next week sometime, I'll be efficient at it again. Okay, so as always, I haven't done as much planning as I should have, but let's explain what's going on here, because these aren't tutorials per se. I am going to try to talk through stuff when I'm doing it, though, if I can. So you may be able to learn a little bit about Affinity if that's what your interest is. Otherwise, you're just a lot of times listening to me ramble about stuff. Affinity graphic design program. So I built Affinity basically is combining the functionality of Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and Adobe InDesign, which are three different programs you have to have open to use at the same time. You, in theory, can link things, but that's more or less successful based on kind of what you're doing. As far as like live updatey stuff, like you can refresh things in InDesign to get them to update. I haven't had as much luck taking things back and forth between, or linking things between Photoshop and Illustrator, for example. Affinity doesn't give a fuck about any of that. It's all in one program. So it's free too, which is cheaper than $55 a month or $35 or whatever Adobe tries to spin you on. Anyway, there's a vector. These are workspaces basically. So when I click over here, the entire workspace, my project stays, right? Which I need to change. One of the first basic things that I try to remember to do, that I've told all you guys to do, is date your shit so that you have versions. Today, April 1st. Oh my gosh. That's why I've stayed off the internet most of the day, I remember now. All right. Yeah, update your stuff. Even if you're using just versioning, like version 1, version 2. I used to use Big V 01 and Little V 01, and I still sometimes do that with screenplays. And the big V's obviously were like for major changes, and then the little V's were sort of like incremental edits or whatever. But I've also with a lot of these type of programs gotten more used to just kind of dating it. And honestly, it's a little too mind remembery. Like, unless I'm keeping a notebook of what sort of changes were made, a lot of it is sort of useless unless you can sort of remember it's like, oh, that one change I did was before or after this other change I did. So if I can track this one down. But anyway, you should have versions either way. How much time you want to devote to keeping track of what they are, up to you, obviously. Anyway, so you have this vector workspace, which is vector based, and pixelverse workspace, which is pixel based. Layout, which essentially works like InDesign. There's which is publishing, making books and stuff. Slice, which is for letting you draw or layer derived export slices, lets you chop pieces up and export certain parts of them. I haven't messed around with Slice too much, though. It's supposed to be really good for workflow stuff. Color grading, I haven't messed around with that much. The same, or I'll get to that in a second. And typography, I haven't messed around that much because both of these have more limited functionality and layout. But here's the bottom line. You can create your own workspaces. So this is my workspace, and it has tools from all the workspaces, and it has menus or little panels from all the workspaces and top panels. And these are the things that I mostly use. Imagine that. And then if there isn't something that I mostly use that I need to, I can either open this up and go through and search and find it, or I can just click to one of these other things and go over and get it that way. So that's how that works. Pardon me while I drink some water. All right. All right. So what's going on right now? So this is functionality wise for layout, and it's how you lay out books. You create what's called a master page, and this master page is applied to the actual pages that you lay out, and then I could create another master page. So if you're doing a comic layout or whatever kind of layout, if you're doing 2 columns, you create a master page with 2 columns, then you could create a master page with 3 columns, and then you could have 2 column pages, 3 column pages, pages with illustrations, whatever. What I ran into is this specific map got memory intensive super fast. And I'll show you why some of that is. Though you can see the crazy amount of gradients and hexes and all the rest of that. But it quickly became pretty apparent that what I needed to create was a master page of the base map or the base background. And that has this map of Mars, excuse me, gradient and all the rest of that. So let's go through these. I'll show you. So this is the background gradient, which the border or I missed one. I was like, what? All right, so this is a nice green, kind of a mono green. Here's my palette over here. And this is the basic thing that all the board game has several maps, and I'm going to make all the maps, maybe not all variations of the map, because there's different variations of the board game, like colonies and Venus Next, Turmoil, which I haven't even played. I've played colonies. I think I've messed around a little with Venus Next, but I haven't really played that. And part of that is because I play on Board Game Arena, and it's only on Steam, I think. And the Steam interface I do not like. Anyway, so all right, so this is the background, and then each of these pages, like this will be the map of Tharsis, and this will be the map of Tharsis with colonies, and this will be the map of Vestus, Borealis, or whatever, etc., etc. different maps. So anyway, so background, then hexes center. Oh yeah. So then there's this background hexes. And what I wanted to do was each of these little hodads here, they're grouped. So let's get an individual one. That one, that one's kind of off in the weeds. That one's off in the weeds. Let's get, they're all lined up here, not in order. Let's go there. Okay, cool. So we click on that. Oh, this microphone. There we go. And as you can see, well, it's not in a group or anything. It's just a straight hexagon polygon. There we go. And the opacity on this is normal, 100%. And the color of this is the dark green, which is right there. Can't get... Oh, there it is. I was like, I couldn't figure out how to get this to open up earlier. So it's just that. But what I did... Whoa. Let's get back up to here. Is this layer is grouped and then linear burn at 25%. And that's what gives it, that kind of picks up the gradient from underneath it, right? So if I was to do that, it'd get darker. If I was to do that, it'd get lighter, you know, and I'm going to be able to mess around with all of them at once in that way. I can even go back through here and maybe use, you know, that's not good. That's not good, obviously. That's interesting. None of these, yeah, that's okay. You get the idea, though. I may come back through here later and be like, oh, I want to use this. That's not good anyway. So that's why that's set up that way on these centers. However, I want the outlines not to have that same opacity thing. And while I think I could have gone through and differentiated, I haven't been able to figure that out as much yet. Okay, so this is technically this square stuff right now, and I can add a stroke to that or add a fill to that. But as far as I know, it doesn't like, you know, specific opacity stuff. It used to be in, or it didn't used to be, in Illustrator, you could have the inside of a hex be 25% opacity and have the outline of the hex be 100% opacity. It wouldn't surprise me. I would be reasonably confident that Affinity has the same functionality. I just haven't taken the time to look for it or figure out where it's at or whatever. And it might be literally the thing I was just dicking around with. If you know, leave a comment in the comments below and like and subscribe. Anyway, so what I did instead was just create a second layer, which are the outlines. See, outlines off, outlines on. And those are 100%, 100%. Oh, no, they're not. I lied. They're linear burn at 75%. So they're different than the inside. For some reason, I thought I had them at 100%. But anyway, but they're the same. Are they the same color? I think they're a shade. I think the interiors are this and the outline is that. Regardless, it creates this nice little effect. And honestly, if I really wanted to get fucking nitpicky, I could start going through and grouping them maybe in concentric circles and have the image sort of fade out, which I may do, which would be kind of cool, actually. But for right now, broad strokes. So I'm not going to do that so much. And then there's a circle, which I should rename Mars, since it's Mars, quote unquote. And the original maps have, you know, they look like Mars. They're kind of painted versions with the map terrain and all the rest of that. I don't need that for this or don't want that for this. So it's basically just a nice sphere with some gradient light in the middle of it and a nice little outline. Or not. Cool. Thought that I did a solid... Let's try it out here. I didn't. Interesting. I wonder if I decided, because yeah, let's play around with this. So there's white. Let's go out. let's go 2. Is that too thick? Oh, it's not too thick at all. That's kind of cool, actually. And then, you know what I did that was cool? Oh, I forgot about that in the other one, the earlier version of this that I did. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's try that for now. What you can do, which is cool, is you can actually do there. You can actually do gradients for the outline too, or you should be able to. Oh no. Because I did it once. Oh, that's why. There we go. Nope. All right, you're making a liar out of me here, program. No, that's not doing nothing. Okay. I'm backing up to see if that gradient will come back. Nope. All right. Ooh. Spit. Well, now I'm perplexed. Did I do this the right way? All right. I swear I was able to do the gradient with. There it is. I think I'm going to have to reverse this. This Yes album thing isn't working out right here. Oh, there we go. It's like 8 different versions of this thing. Just wanted the basic one. All right, I'm back. I know you can see I never left. Whoops. Work. What you? Oh, I see. No? Okay. I really wanted to be able to control this, and I had controlled it before. Interesting. Okay, well, if that's the best I'm going to do. Oh, I see. Hmm. All right, well, I messed around for that long enough. And they make this hard to work with, I will say. Hmm. That's better. All of that work and success. We did it. Okay, so master page again. So, oh, by the way, too, each these two circles are orbits of the moon, and I'm debating whether or not to make them fatter. And I am debating whether or not to make them dotted or some combination. I haven't used the dotted line thing before, so that's interesting. That's cool. I like that. Huh. Oh, because it's not as thick. So let's go one to this one. And let's do this one like 2.4. There we go. There we go. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I like that. This square is going to be for Ganymede Colony, which is a Jupiter thing that's on the map, but I'm going to move my microphone here a little bit. And this is for Phobos, which is a station card as well. And this one is for Deimos, which isn't a location on the map. But I wanted to acknowledge the moon. I thought it'd be kind of cool. Well, that makes it look like you get a card. So I think I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to keep that off. There we go. Why do these look weird? So these little icons, this one obviously just puts the thing in the middle of the thing, inside the thing. There's a bounding box, which is this blue line, or this is technically the bounding box. This is the blue line telling the graphics where to go, whatever, where the math is. So you can go outside of it, inside of it, or straddle it. Big believer in labeling your folder, or yeah, labeling your stuff if you can. Whoop. There's not a lot of information on Deimos and Phobos in Greek mythology. I think there's only a few sort of officially official source stuff on it. They're at this point known as the sons of Mars. Though I think originally they might have been his goats that pulled his chariot. And it's fear and terror. Phobos being fear, I think Deimos means terror. So there was a really good explanation of what the difference of that was, sort of. And I don't remember what it is now. I said kind of leading you on there a little bit. But I think it's the idea of being scared of something that you, in some ways, like fear is you're scared of a thing, but you can control whether or not you encounter it, so to speak. Fear of the dark, it's like keep the lights on. Terror is a different state. Feels like maybe you're more being terrorized or whatever. I could also just completely be making this up. Don't remember what it was, but I remember knowing that there was a really good explanation. All right. Well, I don't love having to make this 100%. This doesn't match the other stuff as much, but I don't want those lines through it. All right. This isn't a group. I guess it's not. It's just a hex. Yeah. I think I'm going to do the same to this one too. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then weird little detail, man, because not sometimes, all the time, the details matter if you want them to. Look at that. This one doesn't matter as much. I could do the same treatment. No, this one has the... Let's find out what it looks like. Ooh. Oh, that's right. Not sure the difference between this and the radial, to be perfectly honest. Almost like that because of how neon everything is. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so now we boot back. I'm leaving card off here. Boot back to page 1. And here's where I've been setting up. Nice. Here's where I've been setting up the map icons, right? So have the oceans that are set up on the original map, and then little icons for plants when you place tiles and all that. I'm going to try to group the oceans. There we go. Liz was my test on this visually a day or two ago. She plays the game, and she was like, she didn't remember. She didn't. She's not like, she's not like as hardcore into like knowing exactly what, you know, thing's supposed to go on what thing or whatever. But 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Why is there 12 of these, and there should only be 9? 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought there was only 9 oceans. Fuck up here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh. There's squares. Duh. There is only 9 oceans. There's 12 ocean squares. 6, 9, 12. Yeah. And that is because there are 3 other cards. I think there's 3 other cards that can go onto ocean squares. There's 2. I feel like there's 2 different greeneries. Not plantation. I think that one can go anywhere. But there's basically 2 different, I think there's 2 different greeneries you can set on an ocean tile, and then there's feckin' molehole. Which is a land tile that you can set on the ocean tile. So you don't ever want to have a spot where something can't be set down tile-wise. There's also an ocean that can be set on a non-ocean tile, though I don't see that played a ton. It's okay on Tharis. There's one of the maps. It's not Hellas. Might be Vestigious or whatever. There's one of the maps where it's actually pretty tactical to use it because there's an award for having oceans next to there's a couple maps actually for having either oceans, no, it might be the same one, having tiles next to oceans or tiles away from oceans. Oh, excuse me. All right, this is the Ganymede colony thing. I say getting distracted. I'm going to come back to the oceans here in a second. And what I'm going to do for right now, though, just for a second, is I haven't messed around with text on this at all. I don't know what size is appropriate. Just turned on snapping, which allows things to snap to other things. Yeah, I might have to turn it back off for now. Snapping is a problem on this document because of the number of... Oh, what do I need to do? The number of objects on this document. Does not make the document happy. I mean, this thing is huge. I think these are inches, honestly. Yeah, like this map is gigantic. So if I don't need to line it up specifically against a hex on the background, which I shouldn't. There we go. What do you think? Text above or below? Leave your comment below, like and subscribe. No, I'm kidding. All right. This obviously starts getting some weird interference in there. Though those decisions are whether or not you want something to read visually first or text-wise first. So this is telling the viewer to read, then look, as opposed to look, what's this? Oh, it's that. I don't know which one is better, honestly. I'm more visually minded, so I feel like the visual is better, but who's to say? Come on. Oh, I should get the... Try to make everything as symmetrical as possible, right? So... All right, so now I get to potentially building other things. Like I already have this little Jovian doodad here. Oh, excuse me. But what does, what does a colony or a city look like? And etc., etc. Oh, no, I was going to go back to the oceans. So, Liz was having a little trouble picking out oceans. Not sure what I can do here. Why? God, that dark. There we go. Did I not put the cards on here? Because I thought I put the cards on here, but maybe I didn't. Oh, yes I did. Not sure why those got turned off. Oh, like all the cards are attached to that. That's great. Oh, all the cards have all the cards on them? Sigh. All right. So it's just doing it because it's a symbol, which I created down here. These little symbols that you kind of drag on, and it theoretically saves you memory. Turn off one signal, turn off all signals. Okay. Why did that turn so bright there, but not here? Oh, because I'm a dummy. There we go. Oh, because I did it to the symbol and it changed all the symbols. Excellent. So some of these are different than the others. All right, so now I get to go through and see what I did here. That's a polygon and not a hex. So let's get rid of that. So hex card. Done. Why that was so yellow compared to, oh, because the polygon. Yoink. All right. The end of my yes, I think it might have been. Yep. Let's jump into some Pink Floyd animals for now. I'm getting near the end of this. I think I'm going to do this ocean thing and call it a night. Ocean blank. That is not correct, though. Why am I putting one there? What am I doing? Let's go here. Oh, no! Ocean blank, cool. Ocean blank, cool. Ocean blank, cool. Oh, there we go. Okay. Help my house. Ha ha. All right, so that seems enough like a ocean, except for this guy down here. He's too dark. Even this guy is light. What's going on with this guy? He's got the good outline, though. It's a little shady in here. Right, so then okay, all that looks pretty good. So now, for my last bit of the night, we're going to do. There's a hex for Noctis City, which is right here. Not sure what I should do with it. Look at the itchy head. I'll create a little icon for that at some point too. Need these, right? Sort of. Basically, when I create the city icon for the other, it'll apply to both of them. Oh, interesting. Probably should have some plants above everything. Titanium above everything. Steel above everything. Cards above, yeah. Anyway, back to Noctis City. I don't know if I wanted like a weirdly different color or lighter or darker. Traditionally, it's lighter. Excuse me. Oh yeah, this in theory should also be another sort of colony tile, so I'll revisit that. These are little locations that don't mean much. As far as game is concerned, I'm sure they mean a lot to the geography of Mars. Making them 10 point, which is readable at like, it's about a trade paperback size, maybe a little smaller. It's definitely bigger than a pocket paperback size. I know that you care. For me too. That was fast, holy cow. When I made at the stop. Now that I found someone safe to bury my bone. And who knows, a dog needs a home. And shelter. Pigs on the wing. All right, that's enough Chasmos there. I just went through the entire Pink Floyd Animal album, 41 minutes. I must have skipped ahead. I must have already had started somewhere because there's no way that was 41 minutes. Anyway, You see what I'm doing. I'm going to be back probably early next week to continue on with it. Eventually, there'll be other game elements on the board. I'll show you a quick shot of the whole board here. The normal version is this. All right, so now I'm working on these little doodads there. Eventually, I'll have to do all these point doodads and then the awards and milestones and awards down here. Ooh, and then I'll have to figure out a place to put colonies for the colony specific one and all of that. But all of these tiles, by the way, should be the size of the game tiles. So if anybody was foolish enough to waste a bunch of ink and print this out, they could play on it, I hope. I'll have to verify that before I do this final size thing for it. But yeah, I would hope that this would just be somebody's like cool desktop or whatever. But in theory, I guess I'll set it up for people to be able to play on it. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. Blue Powder Monkey's Patreon is free to join, like most Patreons are now. And I post a decent amount, I think, of little posts and free stuff and videos. A lot of the videos, almost all the videos so far, have basically been free to people. And then every once in a while I put up some stuff for Patreon users only, just like everybody else. So if you want to check that out, check it out. There'll be graphic novel stuff. There'll be lots of graphic design stuff. Regardless, have a good week.